Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Finally Feel Free event. Today, you have a session with me, and I am going to be talking about the four ancient wounds that we carry in our chakras and how they stop us from living our soul prophecy. So, this is information. Obviously, if you know my work, I come from a Kundalini background. I've been trained from a very young age. My father took us to ashrams from the age of 14, which is what you just do when you start puberty, right? In that kind of setting. We went to India, we went to ashrams. I learned from the Kundalini masters who actually lived in India. I used to go back every year. So I have a really solid and strong foundation when it comes to meditation, when it comes to Kundalini yoga, when it comes to Kundalini practices. So expanding on the knowledge of the chakras, I have channeled a lot of information, and this information today is also channeled and adding to the collective consciousness. So, first of all, I'm talking about soul prophecy. So, what is your soul prophecy? Your soul prophecy is what you set out to do on earth as a soul. Right? It is the prophecy that is laid out for you. It is the magic of your life. It is your highest destiny. It is the gifts, the dharma, and the unique energy signature that you are here to embody and live out. When you have chosen this life on earth and you chose these circumstances, you chose your parents, you chose your partners, you chose your gifts and challenges, it was actually so you could live out your soul prophecy. And in doing so, you develop your soul, you give back to the world, you ascend your ancestry and your lineage, and you also pave the path for many generations to come. So your soul prophecy is actually not an option. It is a divine duty. And when you are in accordance with your soul prophecy, whatever challenges you might have or whatever happens in your life, you still feel like you're on the right path, right? You still feel seen, heard, appreciated. You know that I think the best way I can describe it is there's a line in human design which I have, which is called the struggle line. And it is all about struggling for the right reasons, right? You're actually putting the work in and you're actually going through the struggle of actually getting to the place that you want rather than going through the struggle of not being where you want. It's kind of like choose your pain, choose the pain of going through it and living out your dharma, which is not always it, and it does not always have to come from pain. I'm just using this as an example. It can also come from pleasure, or go through the pain of staying the same and not going and out and living your soul prophecy. So when you're not in accordance with your soul prophecy, you feel unseen, you feel unheard, you feel unappreciated, especially in relationships, because relationships are the closest mirror to what is going on in our life. And also with your life purpose, you just feel so out of sync. You know that you are here for something more. You can feel it in your soul. You resonate with people that are living their dharma and you feel like that's something that you want to do, but you're not doing it, and it just feels so out of sync, which means that you've kind of taken an alternate route to your soul prophecy, which is absolutely fine, because as a soul, when we come into this earth, we have free will. We can take different routes, we can make deviations, we can go down a completely different path if that's in accordance with our higher self and the actions that we actually take on earth. But generally, you have your soul prophecy that you have really come, and you've come as a soul to live out. And within that soul prophecy, there is multiple timelines that you can play out. And we obviously today are talking about the highest timeline. So I know I've said the word obviously a lot. It's just my language. So what actually stops you from living out your soul prophecy? So the first thing is human birth and ancestry, right? You have come in here as a soul, as a baby with this strong purpose, but you have come into this human body, and this human body is connected to a lineage that has been on earth before you. And in your body, you carry the DNA, you carry the imprints, you carry the gifts from your ancestry, but you also carry the deep wounds. You also carry the unresolved trauma or unresolved incompletions from your lineage that people in your lineage, in your ancestry, may not have completed in their lifetime. So it's kind of pending for you. And as a soul, you would have known about this and you said, okay, I will come into this body, I will come into this lineage, and I will inherit these gifts and these wounds, and I will transform them. But what happens is sometimes we get here on earth and we get so bogged down by it that when we're in these human bodies and we're feeling the effects of family and ancestry, we start losing touch with our divinity. We start losing touch with our divine soul and our higher self. And we start playing in too much to the role that this body is playing out, this character, that the family character, what your family line expects of you. So that is why it's so important to always do the spiritual practices and do the healing work that I'm going to be talking about today, to always come back to your center, your core, and your truth. The next thing that will stop you from carrying out your soul prophecy is collective conditioning and programming. So again, we come in here with that strong purpose, but as we come into the earth and we come into the matrix, the inverted matrix, whatever you want to call it, there is society and cultural norms that teach us to suppress, deny, or fear our true selves. Because if we were all to step out into our true selves, which we are doing now, and this is the time for that, the matrix would not exist because the way we have done things thus far would cease to exist. But of course, the collective programming and the collective conditioning can be very strong, especially if you live in certain cultures or societies. Like I live in London. It is pretty, it is a city. I have my own oasis in the corner. I understand that my energy signature is actually supposed to be here right now. It's so interesting because I always work with people abroad. I always work with people in America or Australia or abroad, but my energy signature is supposed to be in London, as when I'm working with people and transforming them and helping them with their healing work and stepping into their soul legacy, my energy is actually here in London. So it's very, very interesting, the societies and the cultures that we have chosen to exist in. But it is very important to know that if you are on this path, which I believe you are, because you've been drawn to this event and to this talk, of your soul prophecy and changing the course of events, that you can live in places like London, societies and cultures, but you can't play into the narrative too much and get sucked in to the way of doing things. Now, the third thing that will stop you from living out your soul prophecy is the life experience that you have lived thus far. This means that your personal trauma and your challenges that have added layers to these wounds, right? You have kind of lived things that you weren't able to let go of or remove, past hurts. And that is kind of masking your true self. You're seeing the world through the filter of all these things that you have not shed, which actually stops you from reaching your truth and your soul prophecy. The fourth and final thing that I'm going to be talking about today is that stops you from your soul prophecy is your soul lessons and your past lives. So we as a soul, so we've done ancestry, we've done collective conditioning, we've done your life experience, but as a soul, you actually carry certain unresolved patterns that have influenced your choices and your behavior in this life, and they can come from multidimensional lives and past lives. And again, as a soul, you said, this is something I still have not developed or resolved from a past life. So I'm going to come into this life and I'm going to resolve it and, influence your life in this way. But if you don't, again, if you get too caught up in those soul lessons and that looks like things repetitively happening in your life and you're not fully grasping the lesson and you're not fully learning your truth and you're not fully evolving from that, the reason is there is a disconnection between you, your truth, and your higher self. And that can also stop your soul prophecy because you're caught up in these repetitive patterns, which actually, with the healing work that I do with people, all four of these can be in alignment to your soul prophecy. Because all these things actually stop you from creating your high vibrational love and healthy family life and relationships. That's one of the things where it shows up. If you feel that you're not aligning with the right partners, or you feel that your family life is still very painful for you. If things are neutral, that means they are resolved to a certain point and you can actually carry on and they will continue to resolve if you feel neutral about certain things. But if certain things feel painful and certain things feels like you still haven't got to like a neutral point, that means there is still baggage there that you're here to resolve. And of course, we're on earth and we're always going to have to resolve something. But this is what I was talking about in the beginning. It doesn't always have to be from pain. It can be actually from neutrality or from pleasure. But when we initially come into this life, we are constantly learning from pain. And we don't want to do that. That's why we want to bring everything up to a neutral point. And from that neutral point, you can then go into a high vibrational point, high vibrational family life, where you really connect with why you've chosen this family and you fully embrace the family that you were born into and learn the lessons that you have come here to learn. You also embrace the family that you have created going forward. If you've got a husband, a child, a partner, whatever your situation is, you're also sending that energy forward in the best way for your future generation. It also applies for your romantic relationships. You know, you're really evolving into high vibrational love on earth. And this is so important at this time because we've actually disconnected from high vibrational love in relationships for generations, right? So coming back into that and realizing what that is also part of your soul prophecy. Another thing is living your dharma and fulfilling your purpose. If you have come here to carry out something on earth, however big or however small, it can be on a global level, it can be on a local level, it could be on a family level. You could have really come into a difficult family line and you're upgrading that mindset, that energy signature of your family. For that, you need to walk in your truth and your soul prophecy. And this is going to cause you to feel confident, free, and empowered in who you are. I'm not going to promise that the challenges are not going to be there, but I can say that the challenges will never affect you in the same way. And you do not have to keep dipping into the pain well, right? You can actually maintain your integrity, your vibrancy, your health, your confidence, and your freedom while you are in this earth experience and carrying these and learning these soul lessons and upgrading the collective, upgrading your ancestral line, and developing your life experiences. You do not have to keep waiting until there is a crisis happening. Unfortunately, there's so many people that have not yet gone on this journey but have wanted to go on this journey, and it always has to take a crisis for them to learn a lesson. So with my community and the people I work with, I say, right, let's clean out all the crises that have happened, but from now on you're going to learn the soul lessons. You're going to catch the impulses and messages that your body give you before it becomes a health problem. You're going to iron out the creases in relationships and family life before it becomes a massive situation, unless you said, you want to go through those things. You don't have to go through those things. Even with your dharma, you're going to really come in here and discover and reveal to yourself who you really are and what you're here to do without having to go through a financial crisis or getting into debt. Those things are kind of on the extreme end of the spectrum, and we don't necessarily have to go that deep for us to remember our truth and our soul prophecy. Now, there is a scale that I work with before I tell you about the four ancient wounds. I want to tell you the four stages of goddess energy and healing, and a little bit of background about why I call my company the Soul Goddess is because the goddess energy is something that has always helped me in my life. Also, coming from a Hindu background, where we revere the masculine and the feminine very strongly. And a lot of the times, different goddess energies have come to me and revealed messages to me. And I very much work with that energy because it is asking for us to be upgraded into that energy onto earth, because it is the highest form of divine feminine energy. And if there are men listening to this, it also applies for the divine masculine. We call it Devi, which is goddess, and Deva, which is God energy, right? So I am going to be talking about the four stages of goddess energy, but you can easily apply this to the masculine as well. And we can while I'm talking about it. So the four stages of goddess energy is different archetypes, which when you fall into, you are stuck into certain patterns, and this is how you experience the world. So let's just go through it. And you can be in different stages of these archetypes. You could be different archetypes for each of the wounds that I'm going to be talking about. And I'm going to be showing you how to actually and what it looks like to live out that goddess and high vibrational energy, because a lot of times in this community, or when people give talks, they don't illustrate what it actually looks like. And what we need to hear and visualize and feel what it means to be high vibrational and what it means to be these different archetypes, because otherwise it's going to feel like just abstract knowledge that you will not be able to apply to your daily life. And it's always important to apply this to your daily life so you can actually transcend and ascend. So the first one is the damsel in distress archetype that I always talk about. And this is very wounded feminine energy. This damsel in distress is help me, somebody save me now, right? It is if you just imagine a damsel, she's not connected to her divine power. She's actually always stuck in fear. She's always overwhelmed. She's always frazzled, and she's waiting to be rescued, and she's waiting for somebody to rescue her. And this is because her inner child is the one that is running the show. She has got her inner child did not receive the love, affection, attention that she needed, that when she has come into her adult life, the inner child is running the show, and she sees everything through the lens of being a child. So she actually always matches up with hero energy, which is the masculine aspect of that, which is, somebody save me, like somebody, and then the hero aspect will always be looking for a woman to save. And then that's his thing. That's the masculine. We don't want to go too much into that today, right? And that's his wound, because he's got a wound with like mother wound or something. There's many things. So in relationships, damsel in distress energy can look like you rely on others a lot for validation or protection. You feel powerless. You feel like you can't actually change your circumstances yourself. And you always need to be part of a community, not because you choose that community and you want to grow with that community, is because you fear of going and walking out on your own because you're not in touch with your divine feminine energy. And in wealth circumstances, a damsel in distress energy can be like stuck in victimhood, struggling, feeling like money or opportunities are out of reach, and relying on external sources for financial support, feeling like you can only really manifest money through other people and you can't manifest money through yourself. And it is okay if you have chosen this route. A big part of my life lesson is actually to have shared resources. Like I can see in my astrology chart, I've had many lifetimes previously where I've been very independent with wealth, and this time is to always share resources. And that's okay, because that doesn't have to be damsel in distress energy. It can be a collaborative and empowered energy. But damsel in distress energy is when you feel like you literally cannot do things by yourself and you are in wounded feminine energy. You're very dramatic, you're very emotional. Emotions and drama are absolutely fine as part of the feminine, but when they're running the show, it's not fine. So there is no judgment here. I have been through all of these archetypes, and we have all actually at some point experienced this because it is an evolution of the feminine, but we don't want to get stuck in it. So that is the damsel in distress energy. Now, the second one is the ice maiden energy. And ice maiden energy is wounded masculine energy. This is like when you shut down emotionally and you move into a very cold and logical, ego-driven space. And, it's like the ice queen. It's like, I don't need intimacy. I don't need relationships. And it's very much the movement we have right now of like the independent woman. Independent woman, when I get to goddess energy, you'll truly know what independence and collaboration together is when it's integrated. But feeling like you can do everything on your own is ice maiden energy, because none of us are actually designed to do everything on our own. We're a collective species, number one. Number two, the feminine is not actually designed to be in wounded masculine energy. That is going to really take a toll on her health, on her emotions, on how connected she is to her body and to the spiritual realms. And if we think about in relationships, Ice Maiden energy is feeling very disconnected, very frozen from emotions, really prioritizing productivity over connection and actually avoiding vulnerability, avoiding going deeper into your feelings, avoiding doing the work, that healing work of really looking inside yourself of what is going on. And in wealth, the Ice Maiden energy can be looking like overworking or overgiving or really driven by what you bring to the table and your achievements and are being quite emotionally distant from your true desires and passions. Because Ice Maiden energy is very survival energy. It's like, okay, we just need to get on with it. We need to do what needs to be done. It's kind of like keep calm, carry on, kind of, that's like a British um kind of like saying. And this just completely disconnects you from your divine feminine power, which is very powerful for you. It disconnects you from your womb energy. It disconnects you from the connection that you feel to the world and yourself and all of that kind of stuff. And again, the masculine counterpart to this is that similar, very ego, like driven kind of, this is what I'm going to be doing, cold, logical, wounded masculine part. Now, the third part is the part where the healing truly begins, the third archetype, which is the high priestess energy. And that is where, when I work with clients, I work with people who are in damsel in distress, ice maiden, and move them into high priestess energy. High priestess energy, the high priestess is an archetype that realizes that she has so much power internally that she does not actually have to keep going out into the external world, into the external 3D, and be manipulating everything. If you look at Ice Maiden energy, it's very like working with the 3D, working on communication and manipulating the 3D. But the thing is, the 3D is old. What we're living right now in the 3D has been already happened. That's why we're living it, right? And what we are creating in our minds is yet to come. And creation starts, high priestess energy realizes that with divine feminine energy, creation starts within, just like how creation starts in the womb, in the void space, how we come from somewhere which we cannot put our finger on. It is intangible. Where things like creativity come from the void, spirituality come from the void. They come from somewhere very mystical that we can't always manipulate and put our finger on. But the high priestess realizes that she is the channel, that she has the sovereign healing energy to carry, to be in be collaborative and co-creation with the universe. She recognizes that the world, the 3D, is not there to manipulate, and it is actually mirroring back to her what is already going on within her. And from there, for her to do the healing work within will change her circumstances. Right. So, unlike the other two archetypes, like damsel in distress, which is very much relying on others and tuned into the 3D of, oh God, I'm in fight or flight, I'm in chaos. And also the ice maiden, who's like, I'm in 3D, but I'm in control. Those two are still in illusion. High priestess is beginning to realize that you can actually move mountains, right? Divine feminine energy can move mountains by doing the work within, by self-mastery within, and recognizing the power to heal and align with your true soul path, soul destiny, soul sovereignty, and soul prophecy. So in relationships, high priestess energy is very much autonomous and sovereign and alignment with who she is first, with before she attracts partners, because she realizes that who she attracts is going to be either mirroring a shadow aspect of her or mirroring something beautiful back to her. So she does not blame the partners in her life, she realizes that it is something going on within herself that is reflecting something back to her, whether it be about love, self-worth, healing. Okay. So she uses relationships as a divine mirror. And in wealth, the high priestess energy is, again, you realize that abundance means something different to each person. You don't just tune into money energy. Money is one form of abundance. I always talk about Lakshmi, the goddess Lakshmi, and her 16 forms of wealth, and money is one form of wealth, right? So the high priestess is realizing that abundance is something different to each person. And when abundance flows, you're in alignment with your soul's purpose and true self. And this is something that we're not taught in the matrix. We think that we need to do something to get money, but it's actually the vibration of doing what you're here to do and acting out your soul prophecy. Because when you do the dharma, it creates such an impact, it creates such a butterfly effect in the quantum field, which radiates. It's like a high vibration, you know, when you feel excitement, when you feel joy, when you are serving from the highest level, it ripples out that energy and it matches you with abundance that rushes in. And again, this is high priestess energy. She knows this. It's not like ice maiden energy where it's like, I have to do A and B to get wealth. And it's not like damsel in distress, like, oh, I'm stuck in fight, flight, or freeze. I can't get wealth. So this is high priestess energy, and this is the energy where you now start alchemizing and you now start healing. Then you move to the highest form of feminine energy that we can get on this planet, which is goddess energy, and that is divine integration. It is the full integration of the feminine and masculine energies within you and embodying mastery over yourself with maturity, realizing that yes, you do have all this power within you, but you are also in the co-creation with the universe and with your higher beings and your higher self. And there's so much, it's like the multiverse, right? And you have that maturity to realize that you're just this sovereign being, but it's also about you are serving now. You are actually giving back to your family, your community, and yourself and paving the way forward. And giving back doesn't always mean monetary. It's just an energy signature, right? When you have so much self-mastery and self-love, you start overflowing that naturally, and that is goddess energy. In relationships, goddess energy attracts deep, loving connections that are based on mutual respect, vulnerability, and divine love, right? It is really based on something which is intangible and higher, and you're actually living out high vibrational love. In wealth, you experience the highest forms of abundance, which is all the 16 forms of wealth if you wish to, and you manifest prosperity with ease and flow, which is aligned to your true soul purpose. And I'm not going to talk too much about goddess energy today because we really have to go get to high priestess energy before we can really grasp goddess energy. So I will mention a little bit about what that looks like, but really it's about alchemizing the damsel in distress and the ice maiden energy. And of course, the divine counterpart to the goddess energy and high priestess counterpart is the magician, and the counterpart to the goddess energy is deva energy, which is divine masculine. So, knowing these four stages, I am now going to be talking about the four ancient wounds and how they actually manifest in your chakras, right? Because, and this is on my website, if you go to the soul voice section, you will read actually the prophecy for the time today. I don't want to speak about it right now because, you know, I'm aware of time. But we carry certain wounds in our chakras because in our chakras, like they govern different parts of life. And as I said, we carry certain wounds. And I did mention in the beginning of the talk why those wounds come about. And so first of all, let's just kind of talk about the root. Now, the root is about survival. And the first wound that you carry in both your root and your throat is the what I call the ancient persecution wound. Now, this is the fear of death itself, for being an artist, for being a healer and being a creative being, for having the profound power and ability to transform life itself. So if you are a healer, an empath, a trailblazer, anyone that's doing something different, an innovator, you actually will have to come across this ancient wound of persecution because it feels like when you need to share something, when you need to share a truth, whether it be in relationships or whether it be in your life purpose, you feel that fight, flight, or freeze response, right? You feel fear. You say, oh, hold on, I'm not supposed to be doing this. I don't want to do this, or you just feel frozen, like you just cannot step into the path. You can't step into your truth because the ancient wound of persecution is very strong within you. We have carried this wound for generations because we literally lost our lives. Even our ancestral line, it's like what the witch wound, the witch hunts, all these things, for being different you would have literally lost your life. And we carry that imprint through soul, past lives, and also our generational line. So it is not something imagined, it's very much ingrained in who we are, and our body remembers the persecution, whether it be through our ancestral line or the soul has memory of feeling persecuted for being who you are. And this causes people to bury, causes you to bury your gifts, to not bring your gifts out into the light because you actually really fear, like even a hint of judgment or humiliation is an immediate trigger to say, oh my God, I don't have security, I don't belong, I can't express my truth. And I'm going to be persecuted, right? And it's a very real feeling. And this actually forces you into silence and kind of invisibility to actually protect this beautiful gift or message that you have for the world, the brilliance and the power of your soul's true expression. And your body is trying to protect that because it does not want to get persecuted. And then in time, it shows up in relationships as the fear of being seen and heard for who you truly are. So I hear so many people in my community saying, I really just don't feel seen. I just don't feel heard. I feel like I'm just talking and people are not listening to me in relationships. I feel like they're not seeing the true brilliance. It's because the ancient persecution wound has actually energetically made you invisible and forced you into silence. And now it's kind of like damsel in distress or ice maiden energy where you're looking outside for somebody to mirror back the brilliance of you, but you have shut that down due to this ancient persecution wound, which we very much carry in our throat chakra, because throat is about expressing your truth and your brilliance. And it's connected to your root because root is about survival, right? So anything that threatens survival, your nervous system will start going into fight, flight, or freeze, which is damsel in distress. And you will shut down your voice. And voice doesn't even just mean speaking, it just means expression of who you are. And in wealth, also, this means that you will be taking an alternate path when it comes to your life purpose because you're not truly walking in your truth. I meet so many people that have brilliant, amazing gifts, and they're even kind of apprehensive to express to me, what they want to do in the world. And when they express it, I think it's such an amazing and needed idea. And I can see that the ancient persecution wound has kind of got a hold of them because they have this narrative in their head that they're literally going to get persecuted or put in a mental asylum for being who they are, because as being spiritual pioneers or having the gifts that we have. And that causes them to take an alternate route in wealth and do these careers or take a career path that they're not really aligned to just because they are fearful. And it's such a shame to know that a whole life has come into this existence and they will not be able to express who they truly are, like because the ancient persecution wound has said no. So this is something it's like crucial and it is vital that we start working through, that we start healing if you really want to feel seen, heard, and valued in relationships and also in your life purpose. Because once it's healed, it's about really being this amazing like embracing your quirks and your creative power and your uniqueness and your unique gifts and having unapologetic and unconditional love and acceptance for yourself. And it's like not just having external boundaries and external, like ice maiden energy, like trying to manipulate the 3D. It's like your energy signature just speaks for itself. You are just so accepting and loving of yourself that it does not matter what anyone thinks of you. And it has taken me a very long time to get to where I am now because I talk a lot about how everything I was just was not good enough. I felt like that in the family I was born into, the society I was born into, the culture I was born into. Now I'm at that place, I'm just me. Like there is no other choice. I've done so much healing work. There is no other choice for me to be me. And of course, there's deeper and deeper layers of me being more of myself. But I actually just don't care now. Like who likes it, who doesn't like it, who wants to work with me, who doesn't want to work with me, because the track record is so solid now that it is just what I do and who I am. And that's what it looks like. And of course, it's still growing and there's work to be done as always, but it is a really good place to be in, but it has taken a lot of work to get here. Now, going through the four archetypes and how they actually experience this wound is the damsel, with the ancient persecution wound, is she will just be stuck in that fight or flight energy or freeze energy. She will be manifesting different crises in her life and using that as an excuse to not be able to be seen, heard, and valued in relationships. And she also will use these as an excuse, their subconscious excuses, to not walk in her life purpose. And she'll always be expecting somebody else to hand her the key, to hand her the dharma, to hand her the relationship that she wants. But it won't really happen unless she's okay with being saved. But then if you're okay with being saved, you'll always be stuck in damsel energy, which is, if that's your choice for your life, that's absolutely fine. But if that's not your choice for your life and you feel overly emotional and you feel like nobody listens and you feel very like out of control, you're in damsel energy and there is a lot to be healed and come back into sovereignty. The next archetype, the Ice Queen energy, she just does not even know her truth. She doesn't even know her dharma and her purpose, and she doesn't even know what a true soul mate relationship looks like for her because she's so disconnected from her body, and the ancient persecution wound is not even a narrative in her head because she's so far away from her true life purpose. She's so in the matrix and she's just doing the things that she needs to do to survive, for survival. And her acceptance is like being, logical and actually in the system. So she is so far away from what she can be doing on this earth. And I meet a lot of amazing people in corporate. I'm not saying everybody in corporate is in Ice Queen energy, but I people come to me and they are a nice queen energy and they have this different character underneath. Like they have all these other things that they want to do. And it's only that little glimpse of like listening to my event or listening to my work, which has opened that door to possibility. And then they come and speak with me. And if that door is ready to be pushed open, then we can work together and get to high priestess energy, which is healing the inner wounds that mirror back to you the ancient persecution wound, that mirror back to you where you did not love yourself and you didn't accept yourself and you actually felt persecuted in this lifetime. We go so deep. We find the wound in a past life, we find the wound in an ancestral life, and we also find the wound in this life, and many times it's you're in childhood, early childhood, where you were really connected to your purpose and your gifts, and you expressed it, and you got shut down, and something bad happened. You either got humiliated or judged, or got told off for being this buoyant, vibrant being. And that was probably the first time that you felt that ancient persecution wound and went into Damsel or Ice Queen. And High Priestess is about finding those wounds and resolving them on a physical level, removing them from your actual physical body because the body holds memory and the body holds trauma, removing them on an emotional level, and also removing them on a spiritual and energy level. And that means then when you go back and think about the memory, how I know that my work is effective with people is when we heal these wounds and these memories, when they go back to that memory, it feels neutral. It feels like they didn't even live that and it happened to somebody else. And there is no pain, like things that could have felt so painful before, the pain has been removed and it just feels neutral. And that's the evidence that I use that it's complete, right? It's not just something that happens. I always need evidence. I need the track record of has it worked. Now, the goddess energy of this is her energy speaks for itself, right? She is just living her dharma. She is just accepted herself. And it's not actually possible to put her in fight, flight, or freeze anymore. It's not actually possible to get her to bury her gifts. It's not actually even possible for her to be affected by judgment or humiliation. It does not trigger her anymore because she understands now why that it was mirroring the ancient persecution wound within herself. And when someone judges or humiliates you, they're dealing with their own ancient persecution wound, right? She also realizes that sense of security and belonging does not come from the outside. It comes from your connection to yourself and your connection to the divine. And she's not invisible. She's out there and she's doing what she's doing. And most of the time, her energy speaks for itself. She doesn't actually have to convince anyone of anything because she has done the work. Now, the next wound is the ancient predator wound. And the ancient predator wound is something that we carry in our second chakra, which is our sacral chakra. Our sacral chakra is about freedom, emotional expression, creativity, sensitivity, relationships, femininity, sensuality, beauty, talents, freedom in movement and voice. It's like that radiant part of you, that beautiful part of you. And the ancient predator wound is something that is it's very unfortunate that we carry this, right? Because we think as women, and men have their own version of this, that if we are too beautiful or too radiant, we're going to attract predators. Because this again has happened generationally and on the planet. And there are still places in the world where like their whole society is set up about avoiding predators for women, right? They have literal laws and codes to avoid the predator wound. And it runs so deep, like even in this country, even in London, where you think women are free, it's not because there's still things that I don't feel free to do, because you think a predator is going to get you. It's literally the fear of being harmed for being beautiful, feminine, sensual, and expressing movement and talent and really embracing your body. And this leads to dimming your beauty and your radiance and going into people pleasing and slave codes, right? People pleasing means not being so bright and wanting to fit in with other people. And slave codes means being a literal kind of slave to stay in connection with others and not being the true radiant, beautiful spirit you are. And we can see this actually in the sisterhood wound. We carry the sisterhood wound with also the predator wound, because the predator wound is avoiding the gaze of the opposite sex and feeling like you are going to be killed or something is going to be taken from you. And the sisterhood wound comes from feeling like if you are too bright, you're going to be outcast, right? It's born from a place of jealousy, and we don't want to express our true selves freely because we might step on somebody else's toes, and we're going to be ostracized, we're going to be chucked out of the tribe. And this wound reflects that division, that fracture within collective feminine, where instead of celebrating each other's light and being, there is that shadow of competition and envy. We think that we have to dim our light to be part of the sisterhood, and we need to dim our light to be safe from predators. And this is a very deep wound that we carry. And I want to be speaking more about this because the womb is a source of strength and it is a source of energy that we can use, we can alchemize to really step into our beauty, our brilliance, our radiance, our femininity, and use it in relationships, for relationship growth and healing, and also our purpose when we're helping other women. But when we carry this wound, we are dimming our light. And healing these wounds really comes back to going back into unity and love. But the main thing is embracing the full spectrum of femininity. And this is why I really also go back to Hinduism, because in Hinduism, there is a full spectrum of femininity that we are so disconnected from in the Western world. From that goes all the way from gentle femininity to fierce femininity to soft femininity to dark femininity. We have goddesses like goddess Parvati, which is the goddess of love and devotion. And then we have Kali, which is the fierce warrior goddess, and Durga. And it's only through embracing this full spectrum of femininity that we're able to express who we truly are and awaken the radiance and that beauty and femininity and talents that exist within us. But because it's narrowed down, that spectrum is narrowed down, it's like we are not expressing the full spectrum. And this is a time when we start healing the predator wound and the sisterhood wound and the womb energy and the sacral energy. It actually calls for a reconnection with the divine feminine within, where we foster communities where every woman's beauty, sensuality, talent, and voice is not a cause for envy, but a reason for celebration. And we strengthen the bonds of sisterhood and mutual support. And we really work with the predator wound on such a spiritual level, because predators don't just exist in the physical world, they also exist in the emotional world and they also exist in the spiritual world. Just like how we have light beings, we unfortunately do have darker beings which can prey on us, right? So this is, I work a lot with ritualistic, like Hinduism rituals, with um sound healing to invoke that fierce goddess energy, the Shakti energy. Is very much Kundalini energy really helps with this. And summoning that dark femininity as a form of protection and acknowledging the power and strength within you as a woman to guard against external and internal and threats. And we experience predators from it could be people from the opposite sex, it can be from the sisterhood wound, or it can be from our family, like anything that feels it's attacking our radiance and our beauty. And when I talk about beauty, I'm talking about inner beauty. It's from the predator wound, and we carry the imprints of this in our sacral. And how does it show up in relationships? It shows up as not embracing and showing the full spectrum of femininity, because it's only through showing all facets of being a woman which unlocks true beauty and then true love and true radiance and true intimacy. It's, if we only stick with one spectrum, we're really cutting ourselves short, because there is a whole world out there for us to experience, especially in relationships with the opposite sex or with the same sex if you're in same-sex relationships. In wealth, it's about thinking that you can't actually create from the feminine. It's about feeling that you have to be like that ice maiden, that toxic masculine archetype to be able to create wealth. We see so many women in the forefront in the mainstream who are in that toxic masculine energy. And then we have that, even when I see these like CEO Barbie dolls, they're like dressed in suits and like suited and booted and very quite like masculine. And the other ones are like the hippie one is the one that doesn't make the money or whatever, right? But it's like cutting off, because when we're connected with our womb energy, we can create so much from the feminine. And it's such a backwards thinking, because everything in this planet is literally created from the feminine. We give life from feminine energy. So when we are cut off, we're thinking that we have to fall into toxic masculine energy, but it is not that. Now, the four archetypes, the damsel in distress, she wants to find a masculine or or the feminine collective to save her, right? In short, every time she wants to be saved or she's in fight, flight, or freeze, it's damsel in distress. She feels that people just prey on her, and because she's not in control of herself and she's not making her decisions, and she feels that to be part of the sisterhood wound, she needs to stay in this fight or flight energy, and is always expecting somebody to come in and save her from what she's feeling within herself. The Ice Queen has rejected the feminine completely. And we can see this if you have a lot of issues around your menstrual cycle is a literal reflection of how you relate to your own femininity. There have been so many people I've worked with that their menstrual cycles, they had so many issues. And as soon as they started working ritualistically with the moon energy, with the feminine energies that already exist in nature, and embracing their own feminine energy, their menstrual cycle just resolved by itself. Because the Ice Queen just rejects the femininity within her. She thinks that it's useless. She thinks that she needs to step more into that toxic masculine energy, and that's what protects her from the predators. And she doesn't really even want to be part of a sisterhood where everybody's embracing. She's part of a different sisterhood. She's part of the Ice Queen sisterhood, right? So this is what the Ice Queen does. High Priestess is when you start healing, and where I start working with people is understanding the innate power and the full spectrum of the feminine and allowing that to come through physically, energetically, spiritually, and emotionally. Really sitting and expressing all the feminine sides and doing that womb healing work, right? The best womb healing work for this is to rebirthing, like going to the point of conception, because we carry the imprint of when we were conceived in our mother's womb, and understanding that there's all the 9 months of the gestation period and the first 8 years of our life is all carried the imprints within us, which is affecting our womb energy. And we have to really heal that and clear that out and reconnect with that divine feminine energy that is actually a source of real power when it comes to relationships, when it comes to wealth, when it comes to the confidence that we have in ourselves and the powers, the mystical powers that we have as a woman. And also men also carry this energy in their own way of bringing down life forms and birthing things from the this is the magician energy. It was also with men, like bringing that down from nothing into the physical world. That is literally feminine energy. Now, the goddess energy is again the inner and outer integration and expression. She has great maturity in understanding the full feminine spectrum. She knows how to use it, when to use it. She knows how to use this to connect deeply, intimately with her sexual energy, her Kundalini energy, her Shakti energy, with her partner, right? And she also understands what it means to be part of the sisterhood. She actually creates sisterhoods. When you're in goddess energy, you actually start creating sisterhoods and healing the sisterhood with your own divine gifts. We have two more wounds to go and then we're done. So the ancient unworthiness wound is the wound that we carry in our solar plexus. Now, our solar plexus is about confidence. It's about being bold. It's about realizing that we are abundant and we have the right to success. We can be in the spotlight. And the unworthiness wound starts showing up in the solar plexus when we start there's an inner narrative of like, why does it get to be you that shines? Like, why do you think that it's you that's going to create this? And it's actually shame. And I can very much remember being a bold and free child. And I don't want to say, I can very much remember a person telling me literally, why do you think it gets to be you? It didn't happen to anybody else. Why do you think you're going to do something different? That very confrontational energy from a primary caregiver, because it created shame within me. It created that, oh, maybe I'm not that great then. It created me to conceal that radiant energy and that essence of my unique soul. Now, that particular caregiver was doing that to protect me because she had that strong, and we can feel this in our family line. When somebody has the strong ancient persecution wound and the unworthiness wound and the predator wound, they want to protect their children, right? They want to protect their children because they don't want something to happen to them. So they kind of say this unconsciously. It's like, don't think you're different, stay in line, stay in the matrix, because that way you'll be safe. But this starts creating a sense of shame. And then we are also now afraid to be who we are because, and it's not so much controlled by fear of predators like the sacral, or fear of dying, like ancient persecution wound, like the throat and the root. This one is controlled by shame. It's controlled by someone's, judging us and humiliating us. So we shrink our solar plexuses and which is in our stomach, and we have a lot of stomach and gut issues, which is so rampant these days. And then we start fitting into the matrix to start hiding, and we start coming into those slave codes, which is about really people pleasing and fitting in and not really stepping into sovereignty. And this halts your pure expression, your boldness, your playfulness, your defiant courage, your wild heart, your free, adventurous spirit. You could have the trajectory, your soul prophecy of constructing empires and legacies that resonate with your truths, deepest truths, that's stopping your communities that you're here to create. When you have that bold energy, think about the like energy signature that goes out into the world. And if you want to connect back to this, on my opening ceremony, I did channel the freedom codes from the Sun people through song. And this is genuine. So many people wrote to me on comments, emails, WhatsApp, and said to me, I really feel that in my solar plexus. So if you want to actually clear out your solar plexus and connect back with that confidence, boldness that is available to you, it's on the opening ceremony. So this is what happens. This is the ancient unworthiness wound of starting to now in relationships, you start to play small now. You start to feel like you're too big. If you ask for your own needs or you have your own expression or you have your own trajectory in life, you're too much. You don't want to be too much. You want to actually be more tame. So you start choosing relationships where you can play small and you start doing the slave code thing where you start fitting in around them, and this is not actually compromise or true compatibility. True compatibility is when two people are who they are, like unapologetically, and they just fit together. The universe just brings them together. When you're not who you are and you're doing all this compromise stuff to try and fit around each other, it's just going to cause resentment. Because you're doing that from a place of shame. And that's why deep down it's like that resentful energy. Like, why do I feel like this in a relationship? Like, why do I feel stuck? Why do I feel trapped? Because it's the ancient unworthiness wound, which is running in the background, which has caused you to line up with this relationship. In wealth, this looks like not truly going for the vision that is trying to flow through you. When you are a clear channel and you're wanting to express your bold and courageous, wild and free heart spirit, the universe will channel through you and give you ideas and connect you with visions and ideas and initiations and intuition with things that are really different and unique. And it's really the energy that will make you stand out in your work. But for that to happen, you need to be connected and clear with this energy so you can line up with the quantum field and really connect with the things that are going to make you stand out. The people that stand out are the ones that have healed this energy, right? The people that truly get to stand out and compound on their blessings and have longevity in their business are people who've solved their solar plexus energy. Going back to the four archetypes, damsel in distress, she will not show courage and she will not step into what she has come here to do because she is so far away from that. She's still in crisis, chaos, and wanting somebody to save her. Deep inside, she knows that she is here to do something, but the courage is just not there because there's no solidity, right? And she has actually does not want to feel that shame, that judgment again, and she's in the matrix slave codes of just people pleasing to fit in with the tribe. Ice Queen is actually very bold, but she's leaning too far into aggression. So this is kind of like that overactive solar plexus energy, which is still not aligned because she's bold and she's assertive and she's independent and she's going for what she wants, but it's not really in touch with her freedom and her adventurous, free, playful, wild spirit, courageous spirit. It's in line with what the Matrix wants you to be bold for. She's bold for the things she doesn't truly believe in. She's bold for the things that she feels is going to help her survive. And again, she's so connected with her truth of her wild, free spirit. High Priestess is when you work on your solar plexus and you clear out that shame on all levels, and you're now able to just be who you are and find your unique voice and imprint, sorry, not imprint, energy signature, and you're able to just show that and it speaks for itself, right? Goddess energy is you realize that your worth is you have invaluable worth, you have an undeniable right to manifest abundance. You realize that constructing a legacy is not just for yourself, it is giving back to the communities. It's and the collective. It illustrates that it's possible to pave a unique and different path, right? And that illuminates the path for others. And in doing so, you not only reclaim your power, but you also pave the way for a new paradigm where there is actually no more shame. We actually make things like shame, judgment, criticism, humiliation extinct. You create a new paradigm and a world where your legacy stands as a testament to transformative leadership, innovation, and a beacon of hope for future generations. And even in relationships, right? You goddess energy is like no one has to question or do anything for your worth. You just radiate that, and people just know that about you. So then they act accordingly. But for that, the healing work has to be done at the high priestess stage. And then the ultimate expression of this is literally what I sang on the opening ceremony, which just came through from the sun people, which was freedom, joy, and sun energy. Now we have our last wound, which is the ancient mother and father wound, which is deeply rooted in the heart chakra. And the heart chakra is all about unconditional love for yourself and others. And when you are carrying the ancient mother and father wound, you're actually embodying the profound grief and pain of feeling unloved and unwanted for your true self. There was a time maybe that you felt very much rejected for being your true self. You felt that maybe your family just felt like it wasn't in accordance to the family line. I remember like being a singer, that was not really accepted for a very long time because I came from quite an academic and spiritual family, but I was doing something really out of the box that it was like no. And I realized they were probably trying to protect me from their level of consciousness, but I felt unloved and unwanted for my true self. It was like something was wrong about me wanting to do those things in the world. And a lot of us as healers, artists, creatives, innovators, that when we want to step out from our family line and do something different and it's rejected, we carry that in our hearts. Or when we just have something like our parts of our personality. Maybe we felt we were too much or not enough, and we felt that disownment and abandonment. And that just made us shut down our authenticity, which is our authenticity is expressed through our throat chakra, but it's also the heart, because when we started to not have love for those parts of ourselves and we started rejecting those parts because it was like, okay, if we start acting like that, we're actually going to lose love. For just taking a simple example of a toddler expressing her pain of like not getting maybe a toy that she wants, right? And she's just expressing her pain and she'll get over it. But because she felt the judgment or the discipline in that moment, not saying you shouldn't discipline toddlers or anything like that. I'm not shaming any kind of parenting. I'm just using a example, right? Maybe the mother or father was quite hard on her at that time, and she now rejected that part of her that expresses how she feels. Just as an example, in this way, we start rejecting different parts of us that um, instill elicit reactions from our caregivers, because we want to always ensure that we are loved and cared for and that we can survive. So when something has a negative reaction all the time, or if based on if you're how disciplinarian your parents were, if there were so many different things that had a negative reaction, you'll actually start fragmenting and disowning parts of yourself. You'll say, okay, I don't want this part, I don't want that part. And then you'll be more socially conditioned. And when you're carrying this in your heart chakra, there's so much you've rejected about yourself. And I've been there. Trust me, I know this one very well. And everything is now based around avoiding abandonment, betrayal, and rejection. And this can be conscious and also unconscious. And this happens again from the point of conception because it's so deep. If Because when you are conceived, this is why we have to be so conscious when we have babies and we create children, because it's from the point of conception that the energy is imprinted. If there is so much even rejection even in the womb, right? And the 9 months, how did the mother feel in the 9 months? The gestation period, how did the mother feel in the birth? And it's not just the mother, it's the father as well. And this is interesting because people think the father's energy does not affect you, but it does because you're made of your mother and your father. How was the birth experience? How was the early life experience? How was the experience up until age 5? All of these things are going to affect your heart chakra and how you experience how loved you are in the world and how you experience abandonment, betrayal, and rejection, and what you see as abandonment, betrayal, and rejection. And this really involves healing and having acceptance and unconditional love for your inner child and all the rejected parts of you. It's about really bringing back all these rejected parts, finding them almost like soul retrieval. And moreover than that is, when we're born into families that we don't truly connect with our parents, and no blame to parents, we choose our parents, but there can be very much a disconnection. The way I really healed that is by connecting to Soul Mother Earth and Soul Father Sun. And that sounds very abstract, but it is so possible. I remember there was this one time where I really felt the mother wound and I didn't feel that I had that love. And I lay on the earth and genuinely, I've sat on the earth many times, but this time I heard the earth speak to me and she literally embraced me. I went into a womb position. I was sitting down meditating. Then I went into the womb fetus position on the earth. And I genuinely felt, I didn't take any psychedelics, I didn't do anything. I genuinely felt the earth embrace me and I went into a cocoon. I went into a womb-like state. And I heard the earth saying, "You are mine. You walk on me. There is nothing about you that I don't love. There is everything about you I love. And as long as you live on me, you are loved, celebrated, cherished, free, safe, and I will always support you." And it is something, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm so happy you're here. And it kept repeating, and it's something that I needed so deeply, and I got that from the earth. And that was literally, there was loads of points that led up to that moment. Obviously, I had to do a lot of stuff to have that moment, but that moment really truly healed my mother wound, like honestly. And the other father energy is the sun energy, and drawing upon the strength, guidance, and warmth necessary to heal the wounds associated with our earthly fathers. And again, you can go to the opening ceremony and listen to the freedom codes that are channeled from the sun people. So in relationships, this looks like constantly worried about abandonment, betrayal, and rejection, either consciously or unconsciously. And in wealth, it looks like still not walking your full path because you just don't want to get rejected or abandoned or betrayed for who you really are. So you fall into people pleasing and slave codes. You might still be people pleasing your parents. You might still think, okay, I'm going to make them happy. I'm going to make them proud, and be doing careers and walking paths that are not actually yours. Or even partners, if you're with a partner that you think, okay, I'm not going to be my true self. There's so many parts of you that you've rejected, so you're actually looking for acceptance from your partners. Now, I have made a masterclass on the mother and father wound, which is available as part of the Golden Circle Access, because I've given you 4 masterclasses on that as well. Now, the damsel is how this acts out in her is she looks for partners to be parents. So she has not realized that she can actually reparent her own inner child. So she's still delegating the responsibility of how she feels to others. And she's looking for partners or the sisterhood to be her parents, to give her the love that she needs. And instead of it healing her, like if she does end up getting that, it doesn't actually still heal her. It's just a void within her, and she has to keep like taking that energy, not in a purpose way, but it's because she has not learned how to fill up her own cup. So she's still stuck in the void. Now, the Ice Queen is telling herself she does not need love or relationship. She's like, I'm done with it. Like I'm just, that I just don't want like that. And it can be telling herself, or it can just be playing out. She might deeply want a relationship, but it doesn't line up because deep inside, she's pushed that part of her away. She's pushed all the rejected parts away, and she hasn't reclaimed them. That she can't really have a true relationship because you're just not going to get that intimacy. You like intimacy is based on it's like into me you see, right? So intimacy is based on how much you've reclaimed yourself and how much you love yourself and accepted and put worth on yourself. When you have done that with yourself and you're intimate with yourself, you'll be able to experience that intimacy with another. High Priestess energy is all about heart alchemy. This is the healing work of going and finding those parts and reparenting yourself and working with the inner child and dissolving those feelings and that strong dominant energy signature of abandonment, betrayal, and rejection, and really stepping into acceptance, love, and liberation. And I do call this heart alchemy, which is beautiful. Goddess energy is unconditional love for yourself and unconditional love for others because you truly realize why people are the way they are. And this liberates you to live and express your true self, unburdened by the fear of abandonment or rejection. Right? It's like that there actually is no abandonment or rejection. It just doesn't exist. Like it's just the universe orchestrating and matching energy up with energy. And abandonment and rejection is never about you. It is always about the person that is seemingly doing it. And you are able to navigate the world with an open heart, secure in the knowledge that you're eternally loved and supported by the universe, Mother Earth, and the divine source. And this healing journey is a miraculous and beautiful healing journey. And it is about moving away from the damsel and ice queen energy and into the high priestess energy and ultimately the goddess. And if you feel called to book a discovery call with me today, or throughout, the link is down below at your convenience. You can, and we can dive deep and see if it is a good fit for us to work together and really get you to the high priestess and goddess energy. And also, men are welcome because I also do work with men on the masculine elements and aspects. Thank you so much for being here. It has been a marathon of a masterclass. My voice is hurting. I'm going to drink water and drink tea. It's just channeled information. We're going to end it on 111. Oh, 1 minute, 12 minutes. And so much love to you. Enjoy this masterclass and enjoy there's another one tomorrow about how to run virtual events because I have obviously run virtual events without using social media because that's my truth. So that's also coming up for you tomorrow and sending you so much love. And I'm so excited that we've got this information out. So much love. Take care.